was the whole point. I put here my design on a notebook because it's easier if there's like that subtle flexibility that a notebook has. So when you're going over your design, it sinks in. Now the first thing that I'm gonna do is decide what I want to go in. So this is the front and this is the back. And I can always mark that with a Sharpie, because that'll come off later. I can mark the back with a B. It's a little hard to see because of the lighting. See, I marked the back with a B. So I'm gonna work on the front and I'm going to figure out what I want to be pushed in. Repousse is pushing in metal and popping metal out from the back. So I want this to be pushed in, and I am going to take any of my tools, I really like the wooden tools though, and push in my metal. And then with most Repousse techniques, the area around something that's pushed in is pushed out. So I take this, flip it over, and I push out the space around the area that I pushed in. Now, if you look closely, you can see it's kind of scratchy because of the tool that I'm using. So I'm going to end up using the back end of my wooden tool. Clean these off so you don't have any clay on them. And by pushing in, I can cover a larger space than I would with the point. Now when I get close to my area that I've already pushed from the opposite side, I am going to use my point and trace around that. So some areas you're pushing from the front and some areas you're pushing from the back. This is called low relief, is when you have something that is either carved in or pushed out. You can think of this as being carved in or pushed out, but it doesn't stand far away from the background. So it's close to the background. Just make sure this is still good. Yep, we're still good. You want to be really careful around your edges, which is why we did all of that line work, because it is really important that you follow your lines and you work carefully. So you can see when I'm closer to the edge, I really slow down and I make sure that I'm following that line. And then in the center, where it's a lot of space that I'm pushing in, I don't have to be as careful. But if you push in your metal and it's a mistake and you push it back from the other side, you'll be able to see the difference. So this is something that you have to be super careful about and really think through your process. Where are you going to push things in from the front? And where are you going to push things out from the back? So you can see I'm taking my time and I'm really working around the edge of that circle that I pushed in from the front, because remember this is the back. Making sure it's all even and all smooth. So now if I flip it over to look at it from the front, this is pushed in, this is pushed out. I'm going to go back into this area here and push it in farther. It's like this center part. Repousse with metal is all about going back and forth. Really clean up those edges. But I'm being careful about this. If I push too hard, too fast, I'm gonna rip through this metal foil. If I overwork a section, I'm going to rip through the metal foil. So I have to try and be clean and neat about it the first time around. You can, if you're careful and you don't overwork your metal, go over a section 3 or 4 times. And you should expect to go over a section multiple times. You should not expect to just do a section once and have it be done. So I'm working on the back again, and I'm working on my edges, making sure those are clean and neat. That they follow the design. Flipping it back over, I see here on the side, I have a indent. So if I flip it back, I can work specifically on that spot to smooth that out. Flip it back over. That looks better. It's not great. I could still work on it, but it looks better. Now I'm going to move on to another section. So I want this here to be pushed in. So it's opposite of this one here. So since I'm pressing it in, I'm really taking the point of my wooden tool, and you could do this with a pen, not the point of the pen, don't use a point of the pen, but I could use the plastic part of the pen. So if I click it out, that's going to rip through my metal, but if I push it in, that will not. I can use that to help me push this down. I could use a capped pen. I could use the point of the pen cap. I could use my loop tool, but I'd have to be really careful because it's metal working on metal. I could use the back end of a paintbrush. If I was just working on the table, then I wouldn't be able to push in my metal as far because the table's a really hard surface. But since I'm working on the notebook, I have the ability to push the metal around a little bit farther because the notebook has some give. So this is an open notebook. Remember, if you have a large area you're trying to cover, have something to push down that is larger. You won't get as many scrapes or wrinkles in your metal. And then from the other side, I'm going to clean up the space around the outside of this indent. Just like I did here. Then go back through and clean up this side. So you're just working on a practice piece